A series of synchronized terrorist attacks hit 3 different continents on Friday, leaving dozens dead. Ministry of Transport investigated the circumstances surrounding a chartered cruise ship blocked in the port of Marseille. Also in the news, despite the hot weather, citizens practice sports to keep fit during the holy fasting month of Ramadan. Those were today's top stories. I'm Mustafa Zog, and thank you for joining us live on the news. As we mentioned in the headlines, at least 39 people, mostly foreigners, have been killed and 36 injured in an attack on a beach in the Tunisian resort town of Sousse. Video footage show the body of a suspected gunman laying in the street. Tunisians, Britons, Germans and Belgians, and at least one Irish citizen are among the dead. Lamia Shouch has the full story.
At least one gunman disguised as a vacationer attacked a placid seaside resort in Tunisia on Friday, killing at least 37 people at a beachfront hotel, many of them foreign tourists, before he was shot to death by security forces. It was the second major terrorist attack in a little more than 3 months targeting the Tunisian tourist industry. It sent shockwaves through the country, which was still recovering from the first assault, a massacre at a museum in the heart of the capital in March. President Beji Caid Sibsi rushed to the resort and promised tough new security procedures. The audacity of the assailant, armed with a Kalashnikov rifle, suggested a sharp escalation from the relatively low-level political violence that has plagued Tunisia since its Arab Spring revolt 4 years ago. Government officials and witnesses offered conflicting accounts of the assault, with some saying that 2 gunmen who had possibly come ashore in a rubber ship had ambushed tourists at an Imperial Marhaba hotel in Sousse, which is popular with German vacationers. Others said that there was a single gunman, but the police were searching for possible accomplices. No group claimed responsibility in the hours after the attack. The affiliations of the gunmen in Friday's assault remained unclear. Tunisian authorities said the gunmen came from Kairouan, a nearby province known as a stronghold for the country's ultra-conservative Islamists. His motives were unknown. The Tunisian authorities have struggled to suppress a small but violent Islamic insurgency that has sprung up in the 4 years since the uprising that forced out the former president, Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, and set off the so-called Arab Spring.
Moving on to the Middle East, the death toll from a suicide attack on a Shia mosque during Friday prayers in the Kuwaiti capital has risen to at least 27, whereas another 227 people were wounded. Images circulating online shows bodies on the mosque floor amid debris. The blast hit the Imam Sadiq Mosque in a busy area to the east outskirts of Kuwait City.
At least 25 people were killed and more than 200 worshippers were injured in an attack on a mosque in Kuwait City on Friday, the first attack of its kind in the major oil-exporting country. A suicide bomber blew himself up inside a packed Shia Muslim mosque during the weekly Friday prayers, according to the Interior Ministry. Security forces quickly sealed off the perimeter of the mosque while rescue workers carried the wounded to hospitals. Shias comprise between 15 and 30% of the predominantly Sunni Muslim Gulf Arab state, where members of both communities are known to live side by side with little apparent friction. The so-called Islamic State, the Sunni extremist group that has captured territory in Iraq and Syria, claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was targeting a Shia sect whose members it considers heretics. The same ISIS branch last month claimed responsibility for 2 other deadly attacks on Shia mosques in neighboring Saudi Arabia. Aside from the dead, 202 people were injured in the blast at the Imam Sadiq Mosque in Kuwait City. Kuwaiti officials condemned the attack, saying that it aimed to undermine the country's stability during an era of growing calls for political change. Some Shia leaders in the country say that the attack threatens to stir up sectarian tensions in a corner of the region that has been relatively stable.
The attack on a gas factory in Lyon is the latest in a series of high-profile terror incidents in France. France has raised its security alert to the highest level after police discovered a decapitated body following an attack in which a man seemingly tried to blow up a factory belonging to a US gas company. Let's follow the following report.
France has raised its security alert to the highest level after police discovered a decapitated body and flags with Arabic inscriptions following an attack in which a man seemingly tried to blow up a factory belonging to a U.S. gas company. A suspect arrested at the scene at Saint-Quentin-Fallavier near Lyon in southwest France was named by the French prosecutor as 35-year-old Yassine Salhi, an employee at a transport company run by the victim. The suspect was known to people at the Air Products factory because he came in regularly for deliveries, according to the prosecutor. The victim's head was found hanging on a fence next to two inscribed flags, with the rest of his body inside the factory. France's Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said that Salhi had previously faced investigations over radicalization, although he had no police record. The prosecutor said that between 2011 and 2014, French security services had been investigating Salhi for connections to Salafist groups in the Lyon area. It remained unclear whether any Islamist motivation for the attack might be mixed with personal grudges. There is no evidence it was coordinated or connected with the Tunisian beach shootings or a suicide bombing at a Kuwait mosque during Friday prayers. French President François Hollande led a security meeting at the Élysée Palace, saying afterwards he had raised the security alert in the southeast region to maximum. A priority, he added, was to determine if the alleged attacker had accomplices. France has been on alert for possible Islamist-related attacks since gunmen killed 17 people in January in assaults on the offices of the Charlie Hebdo satirical magazine and a Jewish food store.
Still with the synchronized terrorist attack. Now in Sudan, where a terror group carried out a terrorist attack on peaceful civilians in the town of Kutfan, leaving 39 dead and injuring many others. Local media reported on the incident, saying that the ill-fated and barbaric attack occurred at dawn when Muslims worshippers were praying. And now let's move on to our national news. When 9 days from the holy month of Ramadan passed by and the national political parties seem to continue in their act of abstaining from talking and moving forward, as if the ceiling high and prices, as well as road accidents in addition to crimes of violence and murders, are not a political matter. Let's follow a reading on the matter by Karim Faz-Zakri.
9 days of the holy month of Ramadan passed by and the political parties continue to go in a willing act of abstinence from talking and any movement whatsoever, as if the ceiling high and burning prices, as well as road accidents, in addition to crimes of violence and murders, are not a political matter which deserves any kind of attention nor any measures to be taken. The political scene has been empty and hasn't witnessed any movement or even media statements, while the social front wallows up in a deteriorating purchase power. The political parties are acting as if these matters do not concern them at all, as long as the constitutional amendments are postponed and another cabinet reshuffled isn't scheduled yet. The absence of action in the political scene began since the Taj party made a humble gathering before Ramadan. Even the Democratic Transition Body is bound to some protocol meetings among the leaders of its parties preparing for after Ramadan. Many followers and analysts commented about these paradoxes seen the escalating political situation just before the month of Ramadan, such as the cabinet reshuffle in mid-May and then the FLN Congress, in addition to return of Yahya to the political scene at the head of the R&D party as a Secretary General, and then the final fuss between the latter and the leader of the FLN party, Sadani, to make a new political pole. However, and all of a sudden, with the coming of the holy month of Ramadan, everything stopped, and all the most important and major political appointments have been postponed until after the blessed feast of Eid al-Fitr, whereas the situation which the country is living doesn't take any room for laziness and nonchalance. The only solace of the social front is some initiative by associations and good doers during this holy month of Ramadan.
Still with national news, more than 2,000 Algerian passengers heading to Iran from Marseille on a passenger ship chartered by Algeria Ferries were not granted the authorization to leave the port of Marseille. To this effect, Minister when ordered an investigation to be opened on the exact circumstances surrounding the dechartering of the ship whose contract was given when former Transport Minister Ammar Ghoul was in office. Increasingly clear lines are being drawn in the United States between the dangers of racial extremism and the danger of guns. US President Barack Obama said that for too long Americans have been blind to the unique mayhem caused by gun violence across the country. President Obama spoke about the race, but also about weapons. He cited 2013 when 11,000 people were killed with guns in the United States. More details in the following report by Karim Faz-Zakri.
Increasingly clear lines are being drawn in the United States between the dangers of racial extremism and danger of guns. As the country mourned the Charleston church shooting victims, yes, the President Obama spoke about race, but also about weapons. He cited 2013 when 11,000 people were killed with guns in the U.S.
You don't see murder on this kind of scale with this kind of frequency in any other advanced nation on earth. Every country has violent, hateful, or mentally unstable people. What's different is not every country is awash with easily accessible guns.
It was the 15th time Obama spoke in the wake of a mass murder with firearms. In July 2012, a 24-year-old PhD student in neuroscience killed 12 people and wounded 70 at a cinema in Aurora, Colorado. 6 months later, a 20-year-old fatally shot 20 children and 6 adults at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, then his mother at their home and himself. Obama signed a directive on the selling and possession of guns after that.
We will make it easier to keep guns out of the hands of criminals by strengthening the background check system. We will make sure mental health professionals know their options for reporting threats of violence, even as we acknowledge that someone with a mental illness is far more likely to be a victim of violent crime than the perpetrator.
But the Republican-dominated Senate rejected the bipartisan plan. It fell 6 votes short of passing. Obama called it a shameful day in Washington. That was a victory for who? A victory for what? He asked. The National Rifle Association continued to warn that expanding background checks would be a first step toward federal confiscation of guns. Some 40% of the guns sold in the U.S. are sold with no background checks. The country has the highest level of gun ownership in the world, 88.8 per 100 people. And the 2013 gun fatality death toll was far more than 3 times the death toll of 9/11.
Way back to Algeria now, where numerous people tend to stop working out and practicing sports in the holy fasting month of Ramadan, in spite of its crucial importance. However, many others prefer to exercise by undergoing moderate physical activities, not requiring a great effort. Hinsi Mineras tells us more in the following report.
Fasting is nourishment for the soul, and exercising is nourishment for the body. Combined together in the sacred month of Ramadan might, however, have some negative consequences unless it's under both medical and athletic supervision and within certain timing, preferably few hours prior to iftar. We carry on our program in Ramadan for people who want to keep in shape during this month, under good circumstances, of course. Our workout is close to iftar at 6 p.m. and only lasts an hour of time, with a less intensified exercising. New members were surprised at first upon learning about our Ramadan program and vary between those for and against. Sports professionals have always affirmed that Ramadan is the perfect month for exercising, becoming today sports fans' primary goal. I work out on the daily. We've been carrying our program since the first day of Ramadan, only with a light and less tiring program. Sports has always been a close friend for the human body, and together with Ramadan might be the perfect opportunity to work out for those who seek good health and reward of fasting at once.
Moving on to another matter now. Syrian traditional pastry earned its place in Algeria thanks to the Syrians' good promotion of their culture, either through Syrian series on TV or numerous shops all over the four corners of the country. Handsome Ras has the full story in the following report.
Al-Hakid shop in Iran's Miramar became the most sought-after destination for many locals to get to taste the very popular and much-demanded Syrian confectionery and pastry. Since they set foot in Algeria, the Syrian brothers promoted their traditional dishes. We've worked in pastry making since we came to Algeria. Syrian pastry is very popular back in Syria, baklava, awama. Algerians come to us from everywhere, the east, west, to taste our treats. We love Algerian people. The shop's Syrian-inspired interior decor became the client's refuge to purchase the widely appreciated, most delicious and mouth-watering of confectionery. I'm used to come here. We only used to see the confectionaries in TV. But now we know what they taste like thanks to the Syrian shop. The prices are affordable too. We're regulars here. They're clean, well-mannered, and their treats are delicious. Even though I live far from here, this didn't prevent me from coming. Despite the state back in their war-stricken country, Syrians want their culture and religion to live on by making it known through their popular dishes and traditional pastry.
And finally, a word about sports. The quarterfinal of the Copa America continued yesterday evening with Peru defeating Bolivia 3-1. Peru advanced to the semifinals where they will face host Chile in Santiago on Tuesday. Let's follow this report.
The knockout stages of the 2015 edition of the Copa America in Chile continued this Thursday with the second quarterfinals matchup between Minnows, Bolivia and Peru. Peru striker Paulo Guerrero scored a hat-trick to give his side a comfortable 3-1 victory over Bolivia. Although both teams enjoyed relatively even possession throughout the game, Bolivia's offense paled in comparison to their Peru counterparts, taking only 9 shots throughout the game to Peru's 27. Peru striker Paulo Guerrero opened up the scoring with a header from a Juan Vargas cross at the 20th minute of play, before stunning Bolivia with a second goal only 3 minutes later on the counter-attack. Bolivia managed to rally somewhat following this setback, only to see the game be taken completely out of their reach at the 74th minute, with Guerrero capitalizing on an ill-advised back pass by Bolivian midfielder Dani Bajarano. Bolivia managed to nab a late consolation at the 84th minute when Demian Lizao was tripped in the box, with Moreno Martins converting the spot kick. However, Peru never let the game slip out of their reach. Following this hat trick, Guerrero becomes the joint top scorer of this edition of the Copa America alongside Chilean Arturo Vidal, whose team he will face in Santiago for the first semi-final matchup this coming Tuesday, and is only 2 goals short of becoming Peru's all-time lead goal scorer. The Copa America continues tonight with Argentina playing Colombia, a game which started at the same time as this broadcast.
And that was the end of our news brought to you from Zen News Channel. Thank you for joining us live and good night.